know a food is terrifying when millions of people once ate it every single day, and now it's banned, feared, or completely erased from shelves. Tonight, we're uncovering the forgotten American foods that used to be totally normal until people discovered what they were really doing to the human body. Some of these foods poisoned children slowly, some were linked to deadly outbreaks, and one of them was so dangerous the government had to create entirely new laws just to stop people from eating it. But what makes this story disturbing is that most Americans never questioned any of it. Because back then, survival mattered more than safety, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why families willingly ate meals that today would trigger national panic. Especially number 4. Because that food stayed legal for far longer than anyone wants to admit. This was not food, this was survival. For most of American history, food laws barely existed. Companies could sell almost anything. Preservatives, chemicals, spoiled meat, fake ingredients. People simply trusted what was on the table. And sometimes, that trust turned deadly. So let's go back to the meals America quietly buried. Number 26. Formaldehyde milk. In the late 1800s, milk spoiled fast. Refrigeration barely existed, cities were overcrowded, and dairy farms struggled to keep products fresh during transport. So some producers found a horrifying solution. They added formaldehyde directly into milk. Yes, the same chemical used to preserve dead bodies. Small amounts could keep milk looking fresh longer. It stopped sour smells. It hid spoilage. And poor families in crowded cities had no idea what they were drinking. Children suffered the most. Stomach pain, vomiting, slow poisoning. But for struggling workers, cheap milk was survival. Many parents simply couldn't afford safer options. That was enough. And for years, it continued. Number 25. Radium water tonics. In the early 1900s, radioactive products became a national obsession. Americans believed radiation could boost energy, improve health, and even restore youth. Companies rushed to sell glowing miracle drinks filled with tiny amounts of radium. Doctors promoted them, advertisements praised them, rich businessmen drank them daily. One famous product claimed it could cure exhaustion, weakness, and aging itself. Instead, it slowly destroyed human bones from the inside. Teeth fell out, jaws collapsed, organs failed. But the most disturbing part? People kept buying it even after victims became visibly sick. Because fear sells slowly, hope sells instantly. Number 24. Swill milk. New York City in the 1850s had a hidden nightmare beneath its streets. Dairy cows were packed beside whiskey distilleries and fed hot alcohol waste called swill instead of grass. The cows became diseased, weak, and covered in infections. Their milk turned bluish and thin, so producers added chalk, flour, and chemicals to make it look normal again. Thousands of poor immigrant families drank it every day. Especially babies, infant death rates exploded, but milk was cheap. And poor neighborhoods had few choices. This was not nutrition, this was desperation disguised as food. Number 23. Copper candy. Bright green candies became wildly popular in the 1800s because they looked beautiful in store windows. There was only one problem. Manufacturers used copper compounds and toxic dyes to create the color. Children loved them, parents trusted them. And sickness spread quietly, severe stomach pain, organ damage, long-term poisoning. But back then, appearance mattered more than ingredients. If food looked rich and colorful, people assumed it was safe. America learned that lesson the hard way. Number 22. Rotten meat canned for soldiers. During the Spanish-American War, thousands of American soldiers received canned meat that was already decaying before it even reached battlefields. Some cans were preserved with dangerous chemicals, others were packed with spoiled scraps hidden under heavy seasoning. Troops called it embalmed beef. Many soldiers became violently ill, some died. But the military kept distributing it because feeding an army cheaply mattered more than quality. Imagine being starving, exhausted, trapped in war, and realizing your survival meal might kill you before the enemy does. This was not cooking, this was strategy. Number 21. Cocaine toothache drops. Early American pharmacies sold products that would sound insane today. One of them? Cocaine-based toothache medicine for children. Parents rubbed it directly onto gums to stop pain instantly. And technically, it worked. Kids became quiet, calm, numb, but addiction risks, overdoses, and severe health problems followed. At the time, cocaine wasn't viewed like it is today. It appeared in medicines, drinks, and household remedies across the country, because Americans trusted labels. And labels lied. Number 20. Borax preserved meat. Before modern refrigeration, keeping meat fresh was a constant battle, so food producers turned to borax. A chemical now used in cleaning products, small amounts helped hide smells and slow decay in spoiled meat products. Consumers had no idea. One government scientist became so alarmed he created a secret research group called the Poison Squad. Volunteers intentionally ate chemicals in food to test how dangerous they really were. Headaches, stomach pain, digestive collapse. The results shocked the nation. And for the first time, Americans began questioning what was actually inside their meals. But here's what no one tells you. Most banned foods didn't disappear because people suddenly cared. They disappeared because the damage became impossible to hide, and the next foods on this list became even darker. Number 19. Lead cooking utensils. For generations, Americans cooked meals in pots, pans, and containers lined with lead. It seemed harmless. The metal was cheap, easy to shape, and everywhere. But slowly, the poison entered food itself. Soups, stews, water, bread. Families consumed tiny amounts every single day without realizing it. The symptoms were terrifying because they appeared slowly. Memory loss, violent stomach pain, mood changes, children suffered permanent brain damage. And the worst part? Most victims never knew the food was the cause. They thought they were simply getting sick. This was not an accident. This was ignorance becoming tradition. Number 18. Dangerous oyster sellers. In the 1800s, oysters were one of the cheapest foods in America. Poor workers in New York and other cities ate them constantly because meat cost too much. Street vendors sold buckets of raw oysters for pennies. But city waters were filthy. Factories dumped waste into rivers. Sewage flowed directly into oyster beds. The shellfish absorbed everything. Typhoid, cholera, deadly bacteria. Yet people kept eating them because hunger ignores fear. For many workers, oysters were the only hot meal they could afford after exhausting shifts, and sometimes that meal killed them. Number 17. Arsenic wallpaper candy contamination. This one sounds unbelievable. In the Victorian era, arsenic appeared everywhere, including green wallpaper pigments used in American homes. Candy shops stored sweets nearby. Dust and contamination spread into food production areas. Children consuming contaminated treats often became mysteriously ill. At first, doctors blamed disease. Then investigators discovered poison hidden inside ordinary homes. America slowly realized something horrifying. Industrial progress was contaminating daily life itself. Not through war, not through crime, through normal products. Number 16. Wood alcohol drinks during Prohibition. When alcohol became illegal during Prohibition, desperate Americans started drinking homemade substitutes created in secret basements and hidden back rooms. Some bootleggers used industrial alcohol not meant for human consumption. Others accidentally produced methanol, also known as wood alcohol. Blindness became common. Organ failure spread rapidly. Thousands died. But demand never stopped. Because during economic hardship, fear, stress, and desperation pushed people toward escape at any cost. One bad drink could destroy a person forever. But millions still took the risk. That was enough. Number 15. Chalk bread. In overcrowded cities, dishonest bakers found ways to make bread appear whiter and more expensive, so they mixed chalk directly into flour, sometimes plaster, sometimes powdered fillers. The bread looked fresh and rich on the outside. Inside, it carried dangerous contamination. Poor families rarely noticed because hunger doesn't inspect ingredients. Bread was survival. especially during financial collapse. If it filled the stomach, people accepted it, even when it slowly harmed them. Number 14. Toxic pickle dye. Bright green pickles once became a symbol of freshness in American markets, but natural pickles often looked dull, so manufacturers used chemical dyes containing copper and other toxic compounds to create glowing green colors customers loved. The brighter the pickle, the more dangerous it could become. And buyers rewarded appearance every single time. That pattern repeats throughout history. People trusted what looked healthy, not what actually was healthy. Number 13. Deadly pufferfish experiments. Most people associate dangerous pufferfish with Japan, but in certain periods of American culinary experimentation, imported toxic fish entered elite dining circles as exotic luxury foods. Some chefs prepared them improperly, tiny traces of poison remained, paralysis followed, breathing stopped. Victims stayed conscious while their bodies shut down, and despite the danger, curiosity kept people coming back, because forbidden foods create fascination, even when death sits on the plate. Number 12. Chemical ripened fruit. Before modern regulations, fruit sellers often used dangerous chemicals to force unripe fruit into looking fresh and ready for market. Bananas, apples, tomatoes. The appearance changed faster than nature intended. Customers saw perfect color and assumed quality. But hidden residues remained behind. For poor Americans, cheap fruit mattered, especially during harsh winters when fresh food became rare. No one asked questions, because survival rarely leaves room for caution. Number 11. Spoiled fish paste. Along coastal cities, fish markets sometimes turned old unsold seafood into heavily salted spreads and pastes to avoid financial loss. Strong seasoning masked decay, smell covered truth. Workers and poor families bought it because it was affordable protein, but dangerous bacteria thrived inside improperly stored seafood. One meal could trigger severe illness within hours, and yet these products continued appearing in markets for decades, because throwing food away felt impossible during poverty. This was not dining, this was economic survival. Now here's where things change. Everything you've heard so far happened before America truly understood food safety, before labels, before inspections, before expiration dates. People trusted companies blindly. And companies learned something terrifying. If profit came first, human health became negotiable. The final foods on this list pushed that reality to its absolute limit. Number 10. Mercury medicine powders. For decades, mercury appeared inside common American medicines and food-related health products. Parents gave it to children for stomach problems. Adults swallowed it for constipation and infections. Tiny doses built up slowly inside the body. Hands shook uncontrollably. Vision blurred. Mental stability collapsed. Some victims suffered permanent neurological damage without ever understanding why, but back then, scientific understanding lagged behind marketing. If a product promised relief, people believed it. Because pain makes trust easy. Number 9. Dangerous school lunch meat. In early industrial America, some schools serving poor communities received low-grade processed meat packed with preservatives and scraps unfit for wealthier markets. Children ate whatever appeared on trays because many families couldn't provide enough food at home. For some students, school lunch was the only meal of the day. Investigations later revealed contamination, spoilage, and unsafe handling practices in certain districts and suppliers, but the system moved slowly, because feeding huge populations cheaply always came before quality, and history repeats that lesson constantly. Number 8. Poisoned candy coatings. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, candy manufacturers used industrial chemicals to create shiny finishes and intense colors that attracted children instantly. Some coatings contained toxic compounds linked to long-term illness, but colorful candy sold fast, very fast. Store owners cared about appearance. Parents cared about affordability. And children cared about taste. No one saw the danger until years later. That's what made these foods so terrifying. The poison didn't arrive immediately, it arrived slowly. quietly, hidden inside ordinary life. Number 7. Unsafe early margarine. When butter prices rose, margarine exploded in popularity across America because poor families needed cheaper alternatives. But early versions sometimes contained questionable fats, artificial coloring agents, and poorly regulated ingredients. Some states even forced manufacturers to dye margarine pink to discourage people from buying it. Think about that. America became so divided over cheap food substitutes that lawmakers literally changed the color of food itself, because economics controls diets more than health ever does, especially during hardship. Number 6. Contaminated ice. Before refrigerators existed, huge blocks of ice were cut from rivers and lakes, then delivered to homes across American cities. Sounds harmless. Until you realize many of those rivers were polluted with industrial waste, sewage, and dead animals. The ice carried bacteria directly into drinks and food storage. Families unknowingly consumed contamination every day, yet people depended on it completely. Without ice, food spoiled quickly, milk turned dangerous, meat rotted. This was not convenience, this was survival technology with hidden risks. Number 5. Dangerous weight loss tapeworm pills. Yes, this was real. Some companies secretly sold diet products containing tapeworm eggs, promising effortless weight loss, and horrifyingly, people bought them. The parasite would grow inside the body and consume nutrients, causing weight reduction, but the consequences became catastrophic. Organ damage, malnutrition, internal complications, sometimes death. Yet desperation for beauty overcame fear for countless consumers. History proves something disturbing. If people become desperate enough, they will eat almost anything. Number 4. Toxic canned foods. Early canned foods transformed America. For the first time, meals could survive long travel, war, and harsh winters, but many cans were sealed using lead solder. Over time, lead leaked directly into food. Soldiers, travelers, entire families consumed it for years. Some suffered chronic poisoning without ever connecting symptoms to canned meals sitting in their kitchens. And canned food became so important to survival that people ignored warning signs completely. Because convenience changed everything. This was not just food anymore. This was modern civilization being built in real time, and no one wanted to question it. Number 3. Unsafe baby formula mixtures. In poor communities, homemade baby formulas often replaced breastfeeding when mothers worked long factory hours or lacked access to proper nutrition. Some mixtures contained unsafe ingredients, contaminated milk, or dangerously diluted nutrients. Infant mortality rose sharply in overcrowded cities, but families weren't trying to be reckless, they were trying to survive. That's what makes these stories painful. Most people weren't evil, most were desperate, and desperation changes what humans accept as normal. Number 2. Poisoned moonshine. During Prohibition, illegal alcohol operations exploded across America. Some homemade liquor contained toxic metals from poorly built stills. Others used dangerous industrial chemicals to increase strength cheaply. People went blind overnight. Some collapsed after a single drink. Others died slowly from poisoning. Yet underground bars stayed full. Because during hard times, escape becomes valuable. Even deadly escape. And finally, number 1. The deadly meatpacking scandal. In the early 1900s, shocking reports exposed horrifying conditions inside American meatpacking factories. Rotten meat mixed with fresh products. Rats crawled across production floors, chemicals masked decay, spoiled scraps were recycled back into food supplies. Workers themselves warned the public. Then came public outrage. National panic exploded after investigations revealed the truth behind everyday meat products. The scandal became so massive, it helped force the creation of major food safety laws in the United States. For the first time, Americans realized something terrifying: the food industry could not regulate itself. And honestly, that fear never fully disappeared. Because every generation discovers new ingredients, new shortcuts, and new dangers hidden behind convenience. The difference is, now we have labels. Now we have inspections. Now we ask questions. But history warns us what happens when people stop paying attention. Because these foods were once considered completely normal. Families served them at dinner tables, children begged for them, workers survived on them, and then one day America realized the truth. This was not food, this was survival at any cost. So after hearing all of these forgotten foods, which one shocked you the most? And be honest, would you have eaten any of them just to survive? Comment below. Because history says most people would.